assault and batteries, but my trunk stay ever ready. Assault and battery, if you scared, you never ready.
Alright, so the wrestling drama that's been going around the last week or so is Michelle McCool and the Undertaker. So much backlash against, especially Michelle, about her ruining Undertaker's podcast, 6 Feet Under. For me, my personal opinion, I've been listening to this podcast since the very first episode. I remember when I heard that Undertaker was gonna be like a podcast host, I was just shocked. I would have told 10-year-old me that 20 years later, that Undertaker would be telling the stories that were kept secret and kept hidden. I would have thought you're crazy. And then you listen to the podcast and you don't hear the Undertaker. You hear Mark Calloway telling stories of getting injuries and WrestleMania, and that's what made it so different. It was like you never would have thought the Undertaker would go down the podcast road, and now he became the #1 podcast in the world, the wrestling podcast in the world. And then I believe it was March 2025, the original creator of the podcast, Matt Lyda, got told by the Undertaker that WWE is going to pick up the podcast and his services are no longer required. Now, when it went to WWE, I was expecting there to be some sort of maybe Undertaker on his own. Maybe he has a rotating guest when it comes to wrestlers and they're just kind of talking like the Steve Austin Broken Skull podcast. But it ended up being his wife. Basically the worst person you can have on this podcast. No personality, just monotone voice, nothing to really bring to the table besides being Undertaker's wife. And for me, I feel like that's been a story of her whole career. Especially when she started getting the one of the greatest, female wrestlers of all time. It's, besides the Divas title, the Lay Cool thing, she didn't, in my opinion, never really did much. It's funny when you go back and look when her career really started to take off and just happened to be around the same time Undertaker and her started dating. It's kind of hard for people not to kind of put two and two together and realize that, these things happen for a reason. And as much as they deny it, and as much as Undertaker says that it wasn't him and she earned it on his own, I call bullshit. I think a lot of people do. And now I don't think Undertaker's used to getting as much backlash as he's getting in anything he does. But post-retirement, people have really put their foot down and said that we don't want Michelle McCool and we want the original co-host back. Undertaker basically said that if you don't want to listen to him, his wife and I, he enjoys doing it, then don't watch. And I think people have such respect for the Undertaker that they do, but they are very, and including myself, very open about telling WWE that this isn't the way it should be. And it's funny because even though they're husband and wife, you see their chemistry on screen and it's so unbearable to watch. The conversations seem forced. It just seems more rehearsed. It doesn't seem natural like how things were with his previous co-host. And Michelle is just something about her comes off as so unlikable. And I from what I've seen, the few episodes, Undertaker, it's he starts a sentence and she has to finish it. She has to make sure that she's in control of whatever situation that they're in. And to me, the podcast just became so unbearable to watch. That was one that I would look forward to and seeing who Undertaker's guests were, whether it be Kane, guys from his little group, the BFKs or whatever. You would have Maven on there. Can you imagine when he has John Cena on there, Shawn Michaels, Triple H? All these guys were potential guests, but now under the WWE umbrella and with Michelle McCool, I don't think it's going to be the same whether they do get those guests or not. It's just my opinion. I know I'm not alone in this. I've seen the comments. I've seen the backlash on the videos that they post on the WWE YouTube page, but just shitty, especially for Matt Lyda, who's put so much effort into that podcast, and now to kind of be kicked to the side. And he says there's no bad blood, but it does, I'm sure it's not the best feeling knowing that you have replaced especially your creation and now you're just another afterthought. But let me know what you guys think if you listen to the podcast, if you don't, and I'll see you guys in the next video.